The History of Titanic. Opening hook. April 15, 1912. A freezing night in the North Atlantic. A ship that the world believed unsinkable disappears beneath the waves, taking more than 1,500 lives with her. Over a century later, the Titanic remains one of the most haunting and legendary stories in human history. But what was the Titanic before that fateful night? How did this dream ship come to be? And why did she meet such a tragic end on her very first voyage? Join me as we journey through the full history of the Titanic in 5 powerful steps. Her birth, her construction, her maiden voyage, her tragic sinking, and her immortal legacy. Step 1. Birth of the Titanic, the dream of an unsinkable ship. The early 20th century was an age of progress, competition, and confidence. The Industrial Revolution had transformed society. Nations were racing not only to build faster trains and taller buildings, but also grander and larger ships. At the heart of this rivalry were 2 major British shipping companies, Cunard Line and White Star Line. Cunard had already stunned the world with its record-breaking liners. Lusitania and Mauretania. They were fast, sleek, and luxurious. White Star Line, however, decided it could not compete in speed, so it would compete in size and comfort. In 1907, White Star's director, J. Bruce Ismay, met with Lord William Peary, chairman of Harland and Wolff shipyards in Belfast. Over dinner, they dreamed of building ships that would dwarf all others, not just fast transports, but floating palaces. Their vision was for 3 giant Olympic-class liners: Olympic, Titanic, and Britannic. From the very beginning, Titanic was wrapped in legend. The press and public declared her practically unsinkable, thanks to her watertight compartments and advanced safety features. She would be the largest and most luxurious ship in history, carrying the hopes of an era. Titanic was more than a ship. She was a symbol of ambition, wealth and progress, but also, as time would reveal, of hubris. Step 2. Construction and design, a marvel of engineering. In 1909, the Harland and Wolff shipyard in Belfast began the task of turning this dream into steel reality. To build Titanic, they needed new facilities. The enormous aero gantry, fitted with cranes and platforms, was constructed just to handle the scale of the Olympic-class liners. Thousands of workers labored for years, risking injury and even death to assemble the ship. Titanic measured 882 feet long, 92 feet wide, and weighed more than 46,000 tons. She could carry over 2,200 passengers and crew. Her interiors rivaled the finest hotels. A breathtaking grand staircase crowned by a glass dome. Elegant dining rooms, Turkish baths, a gymnasium, and even a swimming pool. First-class cabins styled like luxury suites. Second-class accommodations equal to first class on most other ships. And for third class, immigrants bound for a new life, Titanic offered cleaner, more comfortable quarters than they had ever known. But despite her grandeur, there were flaws. Titanic carried only 20 lifeboats, enough for just over half the people on board. Regulations of the time didn't require more, and lifeboats cluttered the deck's beauty. Nevertheless, in Belfast, Titanic was a source of pride. On May 31, 1911, more than 100,000 people watched her launch into the River Lagan. After successful sea trials in April 1912, Captain Edward John Smith, the millionaire's captain, took command for what would be his final voyage before retirement. Titanic was ready for the world. Step 3. The maiden voyage, from Southampton to destiny. On April 10, 1912, Titanic prepared to sail from Southampton, England, on her maiden voyage to New York. Excitement filled the air. The docks swarmed with passengers, crew, and onlookers eager to witness history. Titanic's passenger list reflected society itself. First class, millionaires and celebrities like John Jacob Astor IV, Benjamin Guggenheim, and the Strauss family. Second class, teachers, merchants, and professionals. Third class, hundreds of immigrants from Ireland, Scandinavia, and Eastern Europe, dreaming of a better future in America. The ship departed Southampton at noon, narrowly avoiding a collision with the ship, New York due to Titanic's massive suction. After stops in Cherbourg, France, and Queenstown, Cove, Ireland, Titanic set out across the Atlantic. Life on board was dazzling. First-class passengers enjoyed gourmet meals, music, and luxurious leisure. Second class enjoyed comfort, while in third class, families sang songs and shared hopes for the new world. The voyage seemed perfect. The sea was calm, the skies clear. But as Titanic pushed westward, her wireless operators received ice warnings. On April 14th, several ships reported icebergs ahead. Yet Titanic maintained near full speed, 21 knots. That night, the ocean was eerily still, the stars bright, the waters dark as ink. Passengers retired after dinner and music, unaware that their dream voyage was about to become a nightmare. Step 4. The tragic night, collision, chaos, and sinking. At 11:40 p.m., April 14, 1912, lookout Frederick Fleet spotted a massive iceberg looming ahead. He rang the warning bell. "Iceberg right ahead!" First Officer Murdoch ordered the ship to turn and reverse engines. Titanic veered slightly, but not enough. The iceberg scraped along her starboard side, tearing open steel plates and flooding 5 compartments. Designer Thomas Andrews quickly understood. She will sink. It is a mathematical certainty. Captain Smith ordered lifeboats prepared and distress calls sent. The Carpathia, 58 miles away, responded. But the nearest ship, Californian, did not hear. Their radio operator was asleep. The evacuation began in confusion. Titanic had lifeboats for only half on board, and many were lowered half empty. Lifeboat number 7, meant for 65, launched with just 28 people. Passengers hesitated to leave the brightly lit Titanic for small boats in the freezing dark. As the bow sank deeper, panic spread. Yet there were acts of courage. Guggenheim dressed in his best, saying, "We are prepared to go down like gentlemen." Isidore and Ida Strauss refused separation. "Where you go, I go." Molly Brown urged her boat to row back for survivors. By 2 a.m., the stern lifted high above the water. The band, led by Wallace Hartley, played hymns to calm passengers. Their final song remembered as "Nearer, My God, to Thee." At 2:20 a.m., Titanic broke apart and disappeared beneath the Atlantic. Over 2,500 lives were lost. The cries of those freezing in the water echoed into the night. When the Carpathia arrived at dawn, only 706 survivors remained in lifeboats. The Titanic was gone. Step 5. Aftermath, legacy, and rediscovery. Titanic's immortal story. News of the sinking shocked the world. How could the greatest ship ever built be lost so quickly? Newspapers carried the tragedy on front pages. Families grieved, and inquiries demanded answers. Investigations found multiple causes: excessive speed, ignored ice warnings, and too few lifeboats. Laws changed forever. Lifeboats for all passengers became mandatory. 24-hour radio watches were required. An international ice patrol was created. The Titanic's loss taught the world a painful lesson about arrogance and safety. Yet the ship's story never faded. Survivors told their tales, memorials were built, and Titanic became legend, both a tragedy and a symbol of courage. For decades, the wreck remained hidden. Then in 1985, Dr. Robert Ballard's expedition finally found Titanic 12,000 feet below the ocean. Her bow lay hauntingly intact, her stern shattered, her decks scattered with relics of lives interrupted. The discovery rekindled fascination. Documentaries, museums, and exhibitions brought Titanic back into the public eye. And in 1997, James Cameron's film Titanic turned her story into one of the most watched movies of all time, ensuring new generations would never forget. Today, Titanic continues to rest on the ocean floor, slowly decaying, but her legacy is stronger than ever. She is a reminder of human ambition and human fallibility, of pride and of sacrifice. Titanic was not just a ship. She was a dream, a palace, a world of her own. She carried the rich and the poor, the powerful and the hopeful. And though she sank beneath the waves, her story has never sunk. The Titanic lives on, as a warning, as an inspiration, and as one of history's most unforgettable tragedies. More than 100 years later, we still ask, how could this happen? And in that question lies her immortal power. For the Titanic may be gone, but her memory will never be lost.